From 2015, Cardinal Pell proves his innocence of ugly smears again. Those who unjustly accused him and denounced him have not and may never apologise. The media have played a strong role in spreading the smears, a role that goes beyond the legal function of the media. They have discredited Pell without foundation and campaigned against him for no reason. It was a mistake for the ABC to put a jihadist on TV. Some mistakes are never redressed. ISIS attacks I Rode With You, a normal Muslim family with no terror ties, beheaded a factory worker and tried to blow up the neighbourhood with a chemical attack while carrying an ISIS flag. The father of three was known to authorities and had been on a watch list. The mother was on radio denouncing his arrest and making the claim. A compelling case were yet another needed for the reform movement of Islam, of which there are very few. But the Paris attack was only one of 3 or 4 around the world, all claimed by ISIS and all claimed by those enthralled by the left to be inspired inflations of news media. The correct world response, according to some, would be to stop mining in Papua New Guinea and to stop talks on free trade in the Pacific. ISIS would love to conflate tragedy and exploit poverty. PNG needs to be cleaned of corruption. Pacific trade needs to be protected by a free trade agreement. But the real issue is the response to terror. In Tunisia, at a beach resort, a gunman who hid his weapon in a parasol killed 37. In Kuwait, at a mosque, a bomber killed many. Incoming reports are of a distressed flight on a plane bound from Europe to New York City. It is Ramadan, and the jihadists who cross-dress to kill for their pathetic deity claim to be Islamic. So do many of their victims. If Waleed Ali claims that the terrorist attacks were wrong, one hopes he also explains why they weren't Islamic and why the Islamic world should reject these Ramadan festivities. Meanwhile, the Pope claims to recognize Palestine, the so-called state of Jordanian refugees who pioneered the current reign of terror. It won't promote peace. The U.S. adopts gay marriage and kills one fugitive. The fugitive had escaped from jail with another. Both killers, as many have found out recently, it is bad to resist arrest. He would have been safe in jail, but one had promised a friendly guard he would kill her husband, and marriage is important to the identity of many. One hopes the new inductees will act to preserve the sanctity of union and not promote bestiality and multiple partners. Some say it is a human right, but the UN condemns torture in other circumstances. It is worth noting that Islam views marriage with multiple partners as acceptable. Time to see who is more progressive? There are calls for Australia to recognize gay marriage, but she already does for those married elsewhere. Civil unions are already legally recognized, so the call for gay marriage is not a call for a new right in Australia, but for the state to dictate to churches. Some churches will embrace it anyway, not being allowed to perform services previously because the state would not let them. Why is there need by many for the states to approve their sex lives? As for state recognition, gays have had a role in state since the time of Tiberius. According to Suetonius, maybe it isn't gender that is the issue. Maybe all a person needs to be in any community except the jihadi ones is to be a good person, gracious, kind, and giving. In such a community, gays fit in, if they want, but not the fugitive killer who is still on the run. The left is struggling with truth. The existential threat of jihad is not the same as Islam, but Islam has a big problem it needs to address. Poverty is an existential threat that needs to be addressed. Climate change is not a good excuse to make and keep people poor. Wealth redistribution is a failure. Wealth creation is the only way to lift the poor from poverty. Jordanian refugees have no connection to an ancient state called Palestine. Tax and big government do not make people happy, even if Stalin preferred it.